Howdy, music lovers. There's a little piece of the Ballad of Ricky Lee by Blakgraz. So thanks for tuning in again. I wanted in this video to make some quick comments I've been thinking about lately. There's a lot of videos out there from a whole bunch of different really reputable sources about how the industry is changing again. And I just thought it might be interesting to give my perspective on that, only because it's changed way more than even is being mentioned now, and it has never stopped changing. However, there is one consistent thing with the industry, the music industry specifically, and that is it's a business and they're in it to make money. You should not be surprised by that. In fact, everybody does everything to make money because that's how this particular world works right now. If you want to eat, you got to have some money to pay to eat. So you got to work to make the money to pay so you can eat. Basically, life is designed, unless you live in a forest somewhere or in a cave, or you build your own shelters and you do everything and you're completely off grid. Most of the world lives in a monetary system that requires you to make money to get by, to be comfortable, or at least comfortable according to what we've been conditioned to think is normal. So without getting too far afield in the weirdness of that, don't be surprised that the music industry is going to do everything it can to try and make money, because especially if they're publicly traded corporations. You got SEC rulings from the federal government that say if you're a publicly traded company, they have to make a profit for their investors every year. Not just make a profit, but they have to increase their profit every year. By law, if they don't, they're in violation of federal regulations and people could go to jail, or at least be fined at the very least. So there's some pressure as soon as you become a corporation that's publicly traded on the stock markets to perform no matter what. And the investors, well, they're happy because you're making profit, but people don't realize what that requires of someone who is running the business, right? How do you constantly increase your profit without getting into some shady stuff? You see, what I remember from the record industry was that there was a time, a long time ago, where people would scout artists and then they'd find somebody they thought had real talent, and they would nurture them. They would, sign them on, bring them on, kind of train them, kind of shape their image and shape their sound, push them and let them evolve as them, but within a framework that allowed them to be profitable for the record company. And the reason that it was profitable to do that for so long was because once you own the publishing rights to, or copyrights to, a piece of work that actually sells around the world, it's profitable for all eternity. It's yours. You will profit from that forever, which is why it's so crazy that a lot of younger musicians sign contracts that give up everything so quick just to say they're signed to a label and get nothing for it. There's all kinds of horror stories I've heard from friends, close friends, about getting signed and then put on the shelf so that they couldn't record, they couldn't use their name, they couldn't play their songs out because their band was too close in style to someone that the record company actually wanted to promote. And so they didn't want that competition in the division of the audience. And the challenge with that for me is, obviously it's good business to corner the market. The challenge for me is that that's a lack of perspective, that there's not enough in the world for everybody. Only one person can be number one. Well, that's baloney. There's a new number one every week. There's a new number one every day. And if you're watching the numbers online, there's a new number one every few seconds. So basically, the industry has changed from that to this extreme now, which is pretty crazy. They won't even look at you unless you already have millions and millions of followers online and you're already selling thousands or millions of downloads of your songs, and you got millions and millions of views on your videos, and you're selling merch like crazy, and then they come to you. Sort of like Tom McDonald, he was already number one on Billboard with a rap tune, and now they want to sign him to their label. Well, why? Well, because they want the slice of the pie that he's got going on. Now, there is a benefit sometimes to signing with a label, and it usually has to do with, getting on bigger tours and getting bigger promotions and better marketing. But it's not worth the 99% that they take from you, and the sometimes more than that, or worse, the trap of getting stuck in a contract that just is really awful, and you can't be yourself. You can't evolve as an artist. They just want this same song over and over and over with a different title. So it always sounds the same. You always sound the same. You always do the same thing, and you always do what they tell you. See, that's the thing about contracts. When you sign a contract, you are compelled to perform according to that contract. So if you don't know what they're allowed to tell you that you can and can't do, why on earth would you sign it? See, you've only got rights up to the point where you sign a contract and give those rights away for benefits that you get from someone that you're going into a contract with. So why would you go into contract with someone who doesn't have your best interest in mind? Their best interest is in making a profit. They don't really care about you at all. The only reason they would care about you at all is to make sure that you're healthy enough or conscious enough to just stay on tour, write more songs, and get back up on stage and make them more money. That's it. They're not friends, they're business associates. I mean, if you look at it that way, then nothing has really changed. The way that they make money and the different avenues that they're trying to make money from, well, yeah, it's changing because they're forced by law to increase their profit every year. So don't be surprised that they're going to start cutting into merch and ticket sales and everything else, and your streaming stuff, just so that you can say you're signed to XYZ label. Good luck with that. Now, the good side of all of that negative stuff is that there are enough tools out there now, computer software, websites, as well as social media platforms and marketing platforms and video platforms, that you really don't need a label to get yourself, not just to make a good living, but to make a lot of money. Because remember, the secret for the record industry is a lot like publishing too. There's a reason they called it Random House with publishing books, because they never knew which book was going to take off. It was just random. They couldn't tell. The same thing is true with songs. I've said this in another video where I met Kofi. He actually produced the song for Cher called Do You Believe in Life After Love? And he said a hit song has 3 elements, and that's the song, the song, the song. So you get a hit song, it doesn't matter what platform you're on. It doesn't matter whether you're signed or not. You're going to have money thrown at you. I have a friend, Angelo Marzelli, out in Arizona. He's the guitar player for Cold, and he actually is one of the guitar players and singers for University Drive. He had someone just buy him a brand new guitar. Brand spanking new. Why? Because the guy loves that he's an artist and that he's creating his own stuff, and just wanted to give that gift to him, so that every time Angelo played with that guitar or was in a video with that guitar, he could say, I got that guitar for him. How cool is that? So when you get a song or a brand that starts to take off, money's just going to come to you. So really then it's just up to you to stay organized, just to keep producing content, to keep yourself down to earth so you don't get too big-headed that you think you're the best thing since sliced bread. There's always somebody who's been doing it longer, right? So stay normal, stay who you are. But what you'll find is people around you will change, and they'll become a little bit different. So how has the industry changed? It's just the way that they increase their profit that's changed, really. They are still always and will be forever the same, which is just make more profit. They have to. They don't have a choice. And so they'll do whatever they can to make that happen. On top of the fact that if you're the guy that signs a band that isn't a hit, now your neck's on the line too. So they're always going to be hesitant. So they increase the bar, the standard of what you need to do before they'll even consider you all the time. Why? Because they're scared to death of losing their jobs. So my thought on it, this is just my personal take on it. Why bother with them? Why bother with them at all? All they do is attack you online and try to steal your stuff, right? They're always claiming somebody, this independent artist copyrighted our major artist, and or stole this idea or borrow. I mean, they have to. They have to go after all that stuff because they're always looking to increase their profit. But there was a time originally where it was about really bringing in somebody who had a really unique talent and a unique skill and cultivating that and growing that with the other house or portfolio of artists who were already on their way or big. I mean, that is one distinct advantage of a major label, is you can become associated and tour with or do shows with, appearances with people who are already further down the road than you. However, you don't have to do that. You still might have that happen anyway if you have the right song or the right material or the right content. So yeah, the industry is changing. They're looking for ways to nickel and dime every chance they get. And so why sign up for that? Why not just do it on your own? The internet provides the perfect opportunity to be able to do it on your own if you stay focused, if you're disciplined enough, and if you can stay organized enough. So, I kind of went off on a rant there. I hope it's not too far afield for everybody. But man, the whole conversation about how the industry has changed. The music industry has always been shady, dude. We knew that. We know that just from venues that you book shows with. Come on. It's nothing new. And they're just changing the ways that they can get it out of you if you let them. So don't let them, be smart about it. Protect your stuff, book your own shows, sell your own merch, push your own videos, get your friends and family and get your fans to help. And guess what? When you get those people helping too, you got an army of folks who will help you make a living for the rest of your lives. And then once it really starts to roll, and all the mechanicals and royalties and residuals that come from being through distribution companies, I use DistroKid, whoever you use, once it really rolls, it's there for your kids, your grandkids, and your great-grandkids, and then beyond that. Even after you're gone and dead, they'll be using your songs, if it's a hit, for commercials, for TV shows, for movies, for other entertainment. People will be covering it and paying licensing for that. I mean, that's the reason I really have always desired to be an original artist and not just a cover artist. That's where the unlimited ceiling in earnings is. As a cover artist or a tribute band, there's always that ceiling of where you're just whatever you get paid for each show, right? But the real residual income is from being an original artist and writing and doing your own songs and recording your own stuff and staying in charge of. You don't think about it in terms of selling your soul or not, right? You can make it spiritual, and there certainly is energy attached to anything that you engage in. But don't think about it that way, because that can be overwhelming. Think about it as whether it's a good business decision or not. Do you want to work, 150 hours a week so that the record company can get rich? Or would you rather work 150 hours a week at something that you love so that you and your family and your family and your family, your children can all enjoy the benefit of your hard work from what you're doing right now? It's just simple business. It's just logic. So as evil as some record companies can come across, I would just look at it as, well, it's a business decision on their part, and they've got stuff that's pushing them to do that. So I need to learn how to protect myself against that stuff and do better. Be a good model as a musician, right? So there you go. There's my soapbox preaching for the day. I hope it made sense. And if you have any questions or comments or think I'm completely wrong, just comment down below. That's perfectly fine. That'd be great. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. And if you like the video, please give us a thumbs up. And I hope to see you at a show really soon. Thanks, y'all.